The champ is here. We're in Arena Gym with an atmosphere. This is the lady with and without fear, and time ticks on. So let me introduce you to the ticking time bomb, aka the queen of kickboxing, Tiffany Van Soest, Poetry in Motion. And before I give the mic to Tiffany, this is all inspiration from Tiffany's document Peculiar, where she's the poet.
Thank you for that wicked introduction. I appreciate the poetry. You're the first person to ever interview me to give me a poem, so thank you. It was awesome.
It's a pleasure to have you here, and with your trainer,
Leandro Tam.
Leandro Tam. Nice. Did I say that the correct way?
Leandro Tam.
Leandro Tam. It was a pleasure to see you guys working together a second ago. Literally Poetry in Motion. So many angles, slips, dips, without saying too much, but just amazing. Really enjoyed watching that. We're here ahead of Glory 88, your rematch against Sarah. How are you feeling? How do you feel about the first fight? Let's just jump into it.
I feel great. I feel fit. I feel happy. I feel energized. The vibes are good. I feel focused, and I'm running on a lot of gratitude, a lot of inspiration, and I'm really looking forward to getting in there on Saturday.
For one final ride?
One final ride, one last dance.
We're not going to see you fighting any YouTubers or anything like that and down the line?
Definitely not, no.
I hear it, I appreciate it. How did you feel about the first fight? Did you have any residual feelings, or is it all over and done with? And this is a new fight completely?
After that fight was over, that fight was over. You know, I won. I chose that I wanted to practice more of a boxing defensive style in that fight for that specific opponent, and I did that perfectly to a T. And as soon as that fight was done, it was on to the next and start preparing to be the next level, to reach the next level, to be the next version of myself. Every fight that I prepare for, I don't prepare for my opponent. I prepare to be the best me. And I feel like when I'm doing that and I'm at the highest level that I can be at, that they have to train for me. So I worry about doing what I do, and they worry about me. So as far as this fight, when it came about, I was already training for a fight. I didn't know for who. It's just what I do. I live the life. You know, I train, I eat, I sleep, I train, I write poetry, I make paintings. Always expressing myself in an artistic way, and when it comes to fighting, it's just a violent physicality of emotion and expression. So with this one being the last one, I really wanted to see just what I was capable of. So I put, you know, I lived the life, I lived clean, diet's been clean. I've been at weight, on weight for months already, so no weight cut.
No fast food?
No fast food. Maybe every cheat days sometimes. You know, I'm human. But yeah, just pure dedication to the art to make a masterpiece.
I remember being there at Collision 4, and that was Badr and Alistair, and you were at one of the fights before. And I remember one of the things that stood out most to me was that second Glory fight I'd ever been to in person, was just how much of a resolve you had with, if we're being honest, a slightly hostile crowd or just a slightly animated crowd. And I remember we couldn't even hear you speak, but it zoomed in on your face and you just seemed non-phased. You were going to keep smiling, you were going to just power through and say what you needed to say. And the helmet, can you tell me about the helmet?
The helmet represents the shine of my mind, my uniqueness. A couple of years ago, I was diagnosed with autism spectrum disorder, so that probably helps the awkwardness of the moment really was going through the computer, so nothing really registered here, which is kind of what happens a lot. There's usually way more going on in here than what comes out here. It's a gift and a curse. But yeah, so the helmet is just a physical representation and an expression of the uniqueness and the shine of my mind. And I mean, wearing a disco ball on your head in front of thousands of people, come on.
It's really cool. Would you ever consider going into like acting and stuff after this? I could see you doing it.
If the opportunity presented itself, I would give it a try. I mean, I'd be a little bit shy, and I don't know if I'd be good at it, but I mean, I would try.
I think you'd be amazing at it, and I've got some suggestions if they take us up on this. Netflix, have you seen Stranger Things?
No.
Oh, I think you'd enjoy it. What did you think?
It's nice. I think.
Could you see Tiffany playing a role in that?
I think so. Yes, of course. Why
Sure.
not?
Netflix make that happen. And also, I heard you reference Batman in your poem in Peculiar. Do you like DC comics at all?
I'm not really a comic book nerd, but I like Spider-Man.
Okay,
He's my favorite of the
Of that
superheroes. Yeah.
We need to see you as a superhero as well, I think.
I would be down to be a superhero.
DC, I think, has a lot of vacancies, so we need to make that happen as well. Okay. Rivalries. Do you have any lingering rivalries, or is everything buried and done? I know that you've had like a trilogy with Anissa Meksen, really entertaining fight. She seemed to be able to keep up to some degree with the movement. How do you feel about that legendary set of fights between you guys?
I feel like for women's kickboxing, there's no rivalry better. It's the rivalry of women's kickboxing. As far as opponents go, she's the only one who really made me dig we brought out the best in each other. Similar styles in a way. We're both movers. We're both technicians. We're both fast. I think a little bit of the same competitive temperament. Top level, absolutely. When it comes to the ladies, there's nobody that did it better than we did, and we did it 3 times. We fought 15 rounds, so I wanted to do it again. She seemed to not want to. She was kind of mad after. But anybody who brings out the best in me like that I can really, that's what I want. That's what I train for. That's the kind of fight that I train for. So it's unfortunate we didn't get to meet again, but I'm grateful for that rivalry and what we brought out in each other and what we brought to the sport, and we're able to bring eyes on women as far as what the level should be.
So obviously you've had some amazing training here at Bilma Arena, but I don't see your other training partner, the sparring partner, the small dog. I don't know the breed.
The Villy Pitbull, Pop. Elizabeth Jessica Poppington is her full name. She's a star now, so she's got one of those long names. But yeah, training alongside a dog of that, not even just breed, she's her own thing. I mean, she's like a vintage, an antique. Like they're not bred like that anymore. The tenacity, the drive, the focus, the power, the agility. Training alongside of that is kind of like a metaphor and kind of a reflection in a way. You know, anytime, I get a little bit tired, I can hear her, look over at her, and oh, that's me. We share that. Let's go. It was again a different and strange element to actually have a dog as a training partner, just taking inspiration from everything, and what better than nature and something as primal as that. And she's also a badass bitch, literally.
I saw you doing a lot of underwater training as well. Oh, I got the impression. Do you enjoy swimming and that kind of thing? And do you think more fighters should swim?
I love the water. I'm not the strongest lap swimmer, but the underwater training adds such a whole different element. To be able to, the motto that we use in Deep End Fitness is stay calm in the clutch, because you have to complete these tasks and these exercises underwater while you have no oxygen, your oxygen's running out. So all the alarm signals in your body start going off. I need to breathe, I need to breathe. Panic starts to set in. Intelligence starts to go when you start to panic. But training in that environment or underwater and working against that and learning how to control your mind in that panic situation help. It translates into a fight when you're out of breath and someone's trying to beat the crap out of you. You're able to stay calm and do what you need to do. And then on the physiological side of it, it increases your CO2 tolerance like crazy. So helps with the gas tank as well.
Okay, so two questions that are kind of related. With training in itself, as you've just been training right now, how important is it to breathe at every single moment during the fight? Inhale, exhale. Question for both of you. And do you think that maybe we kind of overlook that? And I know that you do yoga and other things as well to kind of, I guess, also to focus on that kind of thing.
Yeah, first of all, you need to breathe anyway, otherwise you die. So keep breathing is important, of course. But I also think if you don't breathe correctly, especially if you're like training like intense, you'll not be able to think like clear. And if you're not be able to think, you cannot hear. And you need communication. Communication during the sport, of course, not only with your opponent, but also with your corner and your trainers. So I think breathing is a very important thing. Yeah.
Sometimes you see fighters or just in gyms and stuff, you see people get very tense and very aggressive and they're trying to throw hard all the time. And I guess that the breathing, when you're breathing, are you also not trying to throw everything with intention and everything? I guess you're setting a lot of things up and then breathing harder on a harder shot afterwards.
Just exhaling on any power shot, just to remember to breathe, because if you hold your breath, it gets 10 times worse. You get tired faster. But I think the magic happens in between the shots or in between the combinations. That's when the real breathing needs to take place.
Okay, so fun question. Who does Tiffany Van Soes and Leandro, who do you guys YouTube when you're trying to look for new combinations or new angles or something like that? Or you have a favorite fighter that you look at and you think, I want to be able to move like this guy or girl?
Yeah, I have a lot of fighters I love looking at actually. But it's not like I got a favorites, but I like Tyrone Spong, of course, because he's the reason I started doing this whole thing actually. But besides Tyrone, you have a lot of good fighters, and I'm really a fan of the fighters I train with, because then I see a lot of the things that I've learned and I'm teaching now. I see it back in the fighters. So I think the fighters that I'm working with are like my favorites. Let's keep it at that. Yeah.
I like to watch Andy Sauer. I've been watching him a lot lately because he was such a good boxer. The way he put it together, and then with his smashing low kicks. Also Tyrone. And instead of watching, like I watch other fighters to get ideas, but then I take bits and pieces and put them together myself. So I spend more time kind of just experimenting and bringing in other elements like dance stuff and taking like maybe like the Tyson double right side body uppercut, mixing it with, something that Andy would throw, ending with the left to the body and the low kick. So kind of like hybridizing different fighter combinations.
I actually remember like 5-6 years ago hearing your name in a Shane Fight Tips video where he was explaining, and you do it a lot, the diamond step. So you're often getting your head off the center line. So low kicks, I know I asked you this, but I'm going to ask you again. Low kicks or punches, if you had to pick one? You don't have to, but just you can give a commentary on it.
I do, since I've been boxing a lot more, I have a great appreciation for the sweet science and punches. But landing a good, solid, chunky low kick on somebody, you see a bad one, you're just like, you land one, you're like, oh. Yeah. So I don't know, it's hard to choose. Well,
there is the video that went viral of you kicking a tree down, so we know you can kick, but I'm happy that you like punches. That's cool. Yeah. With your movement-based style, I think like a move like Cruz, there should be a move like Tiffany that just came into my head. Yeah, I guess mostly when we're like thinking of movement, if you have two fighters standing in front of each other, they're mostly going to circle clockwise, anti-clockwise. You have a lot of lateral movement, and I've seen that you've like done stuff where you're dancing and stuff like that as well. Is there a particular method that you're using for your dancing, or are you just going with the flow within a fight or within a sparring session, and then just seeing where your feet and your knees go to kind of change those angles? Because mostly, if you see a general sparring session or a fight, people will mostly be circling each other and trying to find openings.
There is a lot of that. There is a lot of flow, a natural flow element. I like to think of my movement, not style, but I guess if there was a way to kind of track it and trace it, it's gyroscopic. So it's in, out, and lateral. So there's more than just those 4 cardinal directions. And then I use different depths as well. And it kind of creates like a pull and push with my opponent. If I move one way, I know they're moving this way. If I move this way, they're going to move this way. So it's about getting them to cross or go forward or backwards. And then in those crossing moments is usually when the magic happens, where you draw them into something, or it's almost like when you put magnets opposite each other, one pushes, the other moves away. But if you flip it around, it'll pull. It has a weird. The words are escaping me, but I
know exactly.
Yeah,
what you mean.
yeah.
What you mean. And you do so many unconventional things, like you'll roll your shoulders in front of your opponent so they don't know which side the shot's going to come from, for example. There's so many movement-based things that you're doing in feints as well. And maybe we can, just glance over those later. In Peculiar, so we got a glimpse into your life and the bits that you shared with us. Really cool, the diet that you're on and the training that you've been doing with John, if I said his name correctly, yeah. And also, I think he needs to do a nutrition course because he's like 58 and ripped as, as anything. So, talk me through the diet thing. Is that an all year round thing? Or is it just for fight camp?
So, in the earlier parts of my career, like most other fighters, I was undisciplined in between fights, and I would get big and then shrink down when it was time to fight, which I don't recommend to anybody, especially competing at a high level and wanting to maintain that. I'm blessed with the genetics and the work ethic that it allowed me to do that, but looking back, it wasn't the right thing to do. So from a certain point in my career, I decided I need to live the life and maintain this, which is why I've been walking around at weight for so long. But yeah, the diet is just raw food, like raw, real food, raw dairy, meat, organs, fruit, no sugar, no crap, like just as natural as it gets. And there's a method to the madness, but that's for Johnny to reveal if he wants to. But yeah, when it comes to that, he taught me, it's his way of that he experimented with through his own adventure, not adventure, but his own project, I guess, that he turned himself into in his documentary Shape. But yeah, he just taught me everything. Of course, it's been refined. It's kind of a little bit of trial and error, but we've got it down now, and it works. Energy is great, recovery is great, strength is great, weight cuts are virtually non-existent.
And the power on your shorts is insane as well. Oh gosh, it just escaped me. I was gonna ask about. Yeah, so Tiffany, I mean, what do you see next for yourself? How do you see how do you see yourself moving on from this? Will you continue being involved in kickboxing? Would you like to explore other avenues that we need to, if you want to later, to share a bit of your poetry? And a question for both of you as well, just whilst it's on my mind, like, you guys are obviously so involved in this sport of fighting and kickboxing and training and stuff. Does it ever get to a point where you wake up and think, gosh, I wish I was reading a book or something, or I don't know, doing something else, where it just gets really oversaturated for you to be consistently thinking about this kind of stuff? I don't know if you do, but there might have been a point in your life where you kind of have felt that.
Actually, I don't. I think about fighting the whole time, and it gives me energy because it's my work, I think so. But besides that, I do other things as well, of course. But even if I do something else, if I'm finished, I'm still thinking about fighting, and it's because I work with a lot of fighters, so I'm preparing myself to stay active like the whole time, and that gives me energy. I don't know how, but I'm enjoying it actually, and I don't get exhausted. I don't get tired of it. So that's for me. Yeah.
That's pretty cool. And for yourself, Tiffany?
I've been punching and kicking things since I was a little girl. There was a point where I was in a low point in my life, and I was just like, you know what? When I'm done, I don't care if I never punch or kick anything again. That's a lie. That's a big lie. I was lying to myself. I do have a lot of other interests outside of fighting that I'm looking forward to being able to fully pursue, because with the way my mind works, when I know there's potentially a fight to be had, I know I'm going to pour myself into that. So whatever else I'm doing, which I also want to pour myself into, gets neglected. So there's a part of me that's kind of looking forward to finally being able to put myself fully into something else to see what happens. But, you know, since I've been punching and kicking since I was a little girl, and it's been a huge, huge part of my life for the majority of my life, there's no way I'm going to just completely remove myself from it. Like, I'll still be available for seminars, I'll still teach and train people on the side and stuff.
Are you based in the States or in the Netherlands? Mostly in the States, I'm guessing?
I've been here for the last 2 years, but I'll be back in the States.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. And so, yeah, because I guess in the States itself, it doesn't seem like, specifically for kickboxing, that there's as large a crowd or an appetite as, say, there is in the Netherlands. Like, so maybe, yeah, when you do your seminars, you can introduce young women and young people to this kind of sport and get them motivated about it. I do wonder, though, that I guess there wasn't really a manual on becoming a kickboxing champion. Did you ever have people in your ear, you know, like, hey, when are you going to do something else, or trying to put doubts in your mind? And the same thing for yourself. You obviously have people that you're training. There might be, you know, family members, and they're well-intentioned, but saying things like, hey, man, maybe it's time to get another job, or, you know, stuff like that. How should people motivate themselves through that and block out that noise and that kind of stuff?
Yeah, I think if that is something that you like doing and really want to do, you need to find a balance for yourself, of course, and you need to figure out what's more important for yourself. Because I think if your family or your brothers or your husband or your wife don't support it, I think it's difficult to stay like focused on fighting or on training. But I think finding a good balance is important. That's what I think. And as soon as you find the good balance, you can focus on both sides and give it like you can put it like 50-50. But sometimes if you got a fight, you can go like a little bit more on the fight focus, and if you don't got a fight, be a little bit more focused on the family. So try to find a good balance in that.
So, but obviously, there's always a worry about injuries and head trauma. In your style, mostly it seems that you're safe, but there are other people, they might, you know, kind of be taking those kind of shots, and they're not really sure, is this something I should be doing long term, you know? So any comments on that?
Keep your hands up. Protect yourself at all times. That's what I said, actually. But, yes, it's sport, and it's top sport. And it's fighting, of course, and you like it or you don't. But if you're doing it, try to do it your best, actually, and especially at the high level, because at high level we still like try to protect yourself at all times, but you still get hit sometimes, and it's part of the job. And for us, it's like try not to get hit, but try to hit the opponents actually as hard as possible. And with that, you just got to keep our hands up actually, and protect our head.
I decided, like, when I became a professional, I just decided I was going to be done when I was 35, just because I figured that was a good enough time to have as a good professional career, like really full, but still a young enough age to stop and still have a really good quality of life and be able to start something else, or like not be too old and ruined from fighting or too deep into it. So I kind of already, because I had that in mind, like people would always ask me, oh, how long are you going to fight for? Are you going to do it forever? This type of thing. And I'm like, no, I'm done when I'm 35. I think 35 is a good age.
I still I saw the Collision 1 thing where you first got the glory belt, and then your dad wrapped it around you. That was such a wholesome moment. What did that mean to you? I know you'd fought in Infusion, I think, was it one time? And then you'd been in Lion Fight, and then you played around with Muay Thai. And if you don't mind my saying, I think we discussed this as well, that it already seemed like you were very much geared towards the kickboxing and maybe not so much the clinch. But do you ever still use some of the tricks that you learned from Muay Thai, which is a slightly different sport, I guess, than the kickboxing? And just any comments about Collision 1 as well?
So to talk about Collision 1, winning the title was like a little girl's biggest dream coming true. Like when I was little, I was always really competitive in sports, but an only child, so I'd play by myself a lot. But like if I was like playing basketball or shooting football into a goal, like I would imagine myself game-winning shot, champion of the world, yeah. And so to be able to actually achieve something like that in real life, like win a world championship in a big arena, that was a dream come true. And then for my dad to be there, was really special, really, really special. Yeah. And then to answer the second question about Muay Thai, I'm trying to keep everything on track. The clinch, actually, there's short clinches in kickboxing, so the clinch from Muay Thai I felt like give me a little bit of an advantage, because for like traditional Muay Thai clinching, my style was always more anti-clinch to make space for elbows and not actually clinch. I was always smaller for my division and stuff, so I didn't do very well with it or like it very much. But the little bit that I did get good at, it helped for the small amount of clinching in kickboxing, for sure.
At your fight against Kaylee Reese, you did something which, it looked so smooth. It was a great fight overall, also with your opponent, but you slid to the side at some point. Like the person is there and you shifted your feet right at that moment. It was such a cool moment in that fight. So your footwork has been on point since then. Tiffany, I think Glory 88, we are all going to be so sad to see you, take a bow then. And yeah, I hope that we're going to still hear from you in terms of technique breakdowns or cards or whatever it might be. And the most success to you in your future. It has been a pleasure to see you do what you do, and we hope that we'll continue learning from you. Thank you so much as well, Coach, for your time.
Oh, thank you very much.
Thank you well.
Jamstalk, als je knokken niet meer krijgt uit je kop. Jamstalk, ouwe hoeren zonder rem op de klok. Jamstalk, voor mijn strijders en mijn vechters pas zinnen. Ga lekker zitten en laten we beginnen met de Jamstalk.